Hello everyone. Well, this is going to be a weird video. I went to move my boom right before I started recording after I got levels set up and everything, and I muted my mic. Yes, I did. So the first, 20 minutes of this video isn't going to have any sound. So I'm going to try to do my best to do a voiceover on this. What I'm showing you now is the work that we've done in that 100 knot rope. On this video, we're going to show you how to make a standard cross at the bottom of this rope. The first thing that we'll end up doing, I'm blabbing on here about something, I don't know exactly what, but I think I'm describing the end point. That's the area that we started with. We made a loop and a little knot. We're going to pull that sucker out of there. We're going to do that on both ends eventually. As you can see, we made 25, we put a bead, 25, a bead, 25, a bead, 25, and we stopped. There's going to be some flowery stuff. I was chatting about all kinds of great stuff here, and I apologize that I have to do this silly voiceover. We're going to start on this end right here where your loop is. Basically, we're just going to pull it through. And something that we're going to notice, I think the reason why I zoomed out was if you measured about 8 yards, if you're doing two colors, maybe 7.5 a piece, but we'll just call it 8 yards. You'll have lots of stuff left over. And obviously all that stuff that's left over is going to be not on this end that we just undid because we measured a section of stuff for that. But the other side, you're going to have tons of excess rope. And that's okay, because we're going to use some of that excess stuff to create our cross. We're going to use it to actually create the crossbar that goes across. We have to build 4 knots out for that. So probably what I'm discussing here is that you can carry on the pattern of the 2 colors through the cross. That's not hard to do. You would just, in this case, you would keep 1 from each color on each end. But what we're going to do is we're going to make a blue cross. So we're going to cut the yellow pieces off from the ends so that we just have 2 blue lengths of yarn coming out. And that's what we're going to use to create our cross. And here I'm probably, okay, yeah, we're going to pull tight on both ends just to make sure that knot is hugging on to that yellow stuff. And we're going to clip as tight as we possibly can without cutting into the knots. We're going to clip the yellow ends off. And this is kind of scary, I know. Trust me. But we're going to clip those off, and we're going to put a drop of crazy glue on there. Again, you don't have to do this. These things are pretty tough. But the people that I give my ropes to they're abusers. Let's just go ahead and say it. They're tough on the ropes, which is great though, because it's helped me learn how to make sturdy ropes. So here comes the first big cut. Don't panic. Oh, and I'm probably complaining about the focus on my camera. I don't know what's going on with that, but it appears that I'm having some issues. Take the small scissors and just cut off any high points on there. And we'll do that on both sides. Again, if you're going to do a 2-color cross at the end, you would keep 1 yellow and 1 blue. And my bird says hi. She's back there making all kinds of noise. I don't know if you can hear. And we're going to take and put a drop of crazy glue on the yellow section that we just cut off. One thing that's important is after you put that drop on, pull the remaining one out straight, because it will, if it's off at an angle, it'll kind of harden like that. You don't want that to happen. And the next step of this process, if I remember correctly, is that we're going to look at the lengths of the blue pieces that are left. We're going to look at how much more we have on one side and then cut them to match. So we're going to make a grand total of 3 knots with the remaining stuff that's connected to the rope. Let me see, is it 3 knots? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 knots. So, and we'll have enough with the shorter piece. As you can see here, as I stretch it out, we've got a short one and then a super, super long one. We're going to cut that off and put aside that blue piece that was left. And that's what we're going to use to make the crossbar and the cross. And that's a matching bead that we have, that we've been using for this rope. If you're using a smaller bead, you might want to put wax on the ends of these 2 pieces so that you can get them through. The knots that I'm using, or the beads that I'm using for this rope, are huge. So we don't have any problem just kind of rotating them in there. If I was using one of the smaller wooden beads, I would definitely put wax on the ends of those just to get them through. But we don't need to do that on this one. The long and short of this next part is, I'm probably going to describe how, since you cut one strand out, those blue ones are going to be, they're not going to be dead center inside of the rope. They're going to be pushed out to the side. And what we want to do, and I think that's what I'm showing here, we want to turn those, and there's my bird. We want to turn those so that the close edge, the 2 close edges push together. Yeah, you can see the outside of that piece. There's more knot. And so we'll look at this one, and you can see we've got the blue piece on the inside edge. We're going to put those together. Not a huge deal, but it'll just look much cleaner when you slide the bead up. If you had one on the inside, one on the outside, it would probably want to turn in to its proper place, but it's better to just get that set up before you get moving here. I'm going to make sure that those are even and pushed in, and we're going to make a knot. Later in this video, you're also going to get to see me mess up a knot. I was just talking and going, and I don't know what I did, but I messed it up. So you'll get to see what happens if you're new to making ropes. You won't be new to pulling knots out. One false move, you get a strand in front and not behind or something like that. And the knot, when it goes together, it just won't feel right. The earlier that you notice that, the easier it is to take apart. It happens to me all the time. I like to sit and either watch a video or listen to an audiobook, or even just sit and pray as each knot goes through. And always I'll end up, instead of going 16, I'll go 17 knots.
Okay, now let's go poop.
Oh, the grandson is home. You're going to see a lot of knots in this one, actually. We'll have 5 for the vertical piece, and we'll have 4 for the side piece, or the crossbar.
Are you pooping?
Oh.
Good job.
I hope that came across the microphone. My daughter asking my grandson if he's pooping. Yeah. Real life happens. And I mentioned here also that as you pull those loops through, it's 3 per loop. And if you remember to count, it's going to make your life easier, especially when you're using a single color and not alternating colors. Your visual cues almost disappear when you're using a single color. I don't think I'm going to speed through these. I was going to speed through just to make the video a bit shorter. But when I was trying to learn how to make knots, it was great. I found it helpful just to watch somebody make knots. A lot of times I'd be in a spot and it was just nice to see it from beginning to end. So yeah, I'm going to leave it in at full speed, or regular speed, I should say. Pull that tight. Pull this one through 3 times. All right, the top 2 knots are done. What we're going to do in this next section is we're going to create another knot, and we're going to stop at the point where we pull it tight. The reason is we're going to make the crossbar and we're going to slip it through the gap that we leave, and then we'll tighten it up after it's in place. Oh, that's where I screwed up. I'm going to leave this in too. Absolutely. One thing is when you've messed up is just don't give up. And when I started knotting, several ropes I messed up, and knots I messed up while making them, and just couldn't get the knot to come apart, and just tossed them and started over. Don't do that. You can figure it out. Take your time, relax, get yourself out a nice fat needle, or even a knitting needle would be great. Take a look at the knot. As you get going farther, it'll get easier and easier to take them apart if you have to. So don't give up. Yeah, I can see. Now I can see exactly what I did. I hope you can hear my grandson. Anyway, so here we're not going to pull this knot all the way up. we're just going to pull it up. I don't know, maybe leave a 1/2 inch or something like that so that there's a little hole there. That's it. And we're going to set it aside and we're going to start working on the cross piece. Now, when we trimmed the pieces to the same length, we ended up with a nice long piece. It was probably, I don't know, let's see when we fold it over. I'm guessing about 4 feet long. Of course, you can always just pull some wool off of a skein and just do it that way, but we'll fold it completely over. We'll go to the part at the end that's looped or bent over, and we'll just create a knot at the end. Just like that. And then we're going to start knotting. The only trick, we're going to make 4 knots. But the only thing different about these 4 knots is in between. After we do 2, we're going to leave just a slight gap, and then we're going to do 2 again. And that tiny gap that we're going to leave is just going to make a little bit more room for the when we push it through. There'll be 2 strands that are going to hold it in place. And you don't have to leave room, but I think it looks cleaner. And you won't notice it when it's complete. And again, we treat this like we're starting a rope. We don't pull it tight up to the knot. Leave a little bit of a gap. It's not going to hurt anything if you pull it tight up to the knot we made on the end, but it'll just be harder to cut. You won't have enough, you won't have as much room to work. I'm probably saying something really pithy about the gap that we're leaving. The voiceover will stop in about 4 minutes and I won't have to do this anymore. Tell me what you think about having the single color cross on the end of a multicolor rope. I think it turned out pretty cool. I generally don't make 2-color ropes. I think they just look kind of busy. I prefer black. Father Nectarios at my parish loves the colors. So I do make a lot of colored ropes. All right, again, we'll do 2 knots, leave a slight gap, little tiny gap, like a 1/16 of an inch, just enough so that when we pull it through, it'll fit. Now, this is the part of the video where I realize that my audio isn't recording, so fairly soon we'll have the original audio back and I can stop doing this voiceover. Pull them tight. Start another knot. And when we cinch it up, we're just going to pull it out a little bit and leave a tiny little gap. Any moment here, I'll look up at my boom mic and realize that it's flashing, that it's muted. There it is. So we've got it pulled up tight, and then we're just going to reach in between the 2 knots and separate them just a little bit. It's probably hard to see, but you see a little gap between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch, I think. And then we'll go about finishing up this knot, remembering on the second section that we do, we're not going to pull it tight. You can pull it tight, you just need to remember to pull it back out before you do the second loop. Yeah, so this first one, you don't want to pull that one tight. You can, but you just need to remember to pull it back out. Oh, there it is. I figured out what's wrong with I moved oh my God. I moved my mic and hit the mute button. My bad. I'll go ahead and voice over. If you're hearing this, you just listened to a voiceover. But again, where we're at is we're creating our third knot on this, and we're leaving just the tiniest little gap. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but there's a little bit of a gap in between these two and what will be the next two. See that? Probably not too easy to see. But there's a little tiny gap there. Can't believe I hit that button. All it was doing there is getting that top knot out of the way. Yeah, I would just redo this whole video because of the sound thing, but it takes a while to do 100 knots. So we're gonna try to make it work. Rub to even them out. We're going to cut off the ends. Pull it nice and tight. Okay. Little drop. Little drop. Again, that's not needed. I have a friend online, when they make them, they leave just a little bit of maybe like a 16th or an eighth of an inch sticking out the end, and it kind of frays, and it looks really cool. So there is the T-bar to our cross. We'll go back to this. As you can see, we left a little hole right here. We have our knot and a little hole in between the second and third one. We're going to take this one we made. See if we can see it on the camera. See that little tiny gap in there? We're going to push that through the hole. Right now I'm just kind of squeezing just to make sure that that slot that we made, that little gap works. And then we're going to go on with our knot by pulling the loops up tight. There you go. Pretty cool. We're going to just treat this like a regular knot. That's 3. Squeeze in tight. That's 1. That's 3. So now we're going to make 2 more knots and we'll be done. And for those of you that want a sneak peek on making a tassel on the end, you would do 2 more knots, and then you would make another knot, and you would leave a gap a little bit bigger than the one we made. we would cut some material for the tassel. We would slip it through that in between the two, tighten it up, and then tie it off. But that's how we would do it. Again, I'll probably make a video on that coming up. My priest likes tassels. I'm not a big fan of making them. I'm certainly not a big fan praying with them, but some people are. In fact, if anyone cares about my own personal opinion, I doubt they do. I don't like my prayer ropes like this. I like to hum through and not get to this blob and then go over here. And so you can see how I finished 100 knot rope with just a small cross, kind of like an inline cross. It doesn't stick out of the rope. It's actually integral inside. That's what I like. But that little jog that you have to do when you get to the end of the rope, you could have a special prayer for that. Absolutely. The important part is that you're sitting before God. Letting him do his work on you. Okay, now someone, if you wanted to, you could stop here. Just look kind of a Greek cross. But that's not what this video is about. We're going all the way. Actually, this rope I'm going to give to one of our chanters as a gift at church. Now I'm just kind of squeezing them through, looking for any edges that need to be knocked down. There you go. Sweet. Pull this nice and tight, cut it, put a drop of crazy glue on there. Oh, my head's in the way. Sorry about that. You didn't sign up for bald heads in your videos. Let's come out a little bit. And that's it. that's all she wrote, guys. Hopefully that helps a little bit. I've seen people make keychains. You can probably figure that out. Just use a smaller loop. You could even put one of these on a 33 knot rope if you're so inclined. Anyway, I really hope that that's helpful. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in the comments or send me an email at brett@goodfight.net, and we'll try to help. Have a great one.